is Janice, and I'm a Singaporean residing right now in Toronto, Canada. Um, I've been doing children ministry for many years, and I've also done youth and worship ministry as well. So it's a privilege that I'm able to, share about my experiences with the Holy Spirit today. Yep. So, it's a way long back. When I was 13 years old, I was actually invited to a small group. Um, there were two of us, my elementary school friend and myself, and our friend told us that, hey, we're having this small group today, and we just want to invite you to come. And I'm actually not from a Christian family, so I have no idea what's a small group like.
Okay.
And I have no idea what do they do. But when we arrived, people were friendly, and they were all our age, so there was a connection there. And it happened that the topic for that day was on the baptism of the Holy Spirit. It was my first encounter, and I have no idea. And when everybody started praying in tongues, I was so terrified because nobody explained to me what it was. And the leader of the small group, came over and started laying hands on me and my friend, telling us that, we're going to pray for you right now. So if you feel that there's something, and you just speak it out. But I just simply refused to open my mouth. As a 13-year-old, you just keep thinking, what's going on? I'm so scared, and I'm like peeping at my friend and see what's happening to her. And surprisingly, my friend actually spoke in tongues. And I was just like, what just happened, But, well, I didn't get filled with the Spirit that day, but my mind was very, I was in like mixed feelings. I was confused, I was scared, and I, being a typical Asian, I am afraid of asking questions, right? So I just kept quiet all the way home, and even my friend and I, we didn't say anything, and we were just 13-year-old, trying to enjoy ourselves, for that day. But there was this question in my mind, what is going on that day? What happened? And I came up with this conclusion that, was it a cult? It feels like an eccentric cult group that just, that I just got invited to. So I decided to call other Christian friends. I called them up and I told them, that they're the people speaking in some weird languages. I do not know what they're saying. Well, some of my friends who were not baptized in the Holy Spirit, they obviously, and they do not understand what it's like to speak in tongues, they obviously believed and tried to convince me that this is a devilish thing. And they quote me verses in the Bible in Corinthians, and I was like reading it, but I couldn't understand, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I was pondering for some time, and finally I decided that I will ask the person who invited me to this small group what is going on. So I gave her a call and I told her, and I say that, I need you to explain to me more what's going on. And even for herself, she wasn't able to explain much to me, but she sent me a booklet on why tongues. The title I still remember on the booklet, Why Tongues. So I was looking through the booklet, I was reading it, I was like, I don't understand, nobody's explaining things to me. And so, but it was always on my mind about this thing that's going on. And during the time, I became a bit more, like growing up years, I became a bit more rebellious. I started to join a bad company, and so I didn't even like attend that small group anymore, even though my friend kept calling me to attend. So fast forward 8 years, I was invited back to the church again. There were some things that was happening in my life at that point, and I called the same elementary school friend who attended the small group with me, and I was like telling her my life was meaningless and everything, you know. And she was like, and at that point, okay, the reason why I called her was also because I sensed in my heart that I should just stop all these things that I'm doing and I should just go back to church, you know. So yeah, so I gave her a call and I told her I was crying on the phone, and she was like, you know what, you might want to come and visit our church on Sunday. This Sunday, just come. She has been there for 8 years, from that day when she was 13 years old, when she was filled with the Spirit. On that same day, she has been attending. And little did I know that she was actually praying for me, you know, and she has been praying for me. And so I attended the church with her that day. And yeah, and so I gave my heart to Jesus. And I was attending the church for a few months. One day, my zone pastor, who was then my small group leader, he came to me and he said, you know what, I just sense in my heart that you are ready to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And I was like, oh, really? I didn't know that, but you know, being a very young Christian at the time, I didn't know that. And so I told him, okay, so what do I do now? You know, he said, I will just get someone to pray for you, and yeah, and you just follow, you know, her prayer. She would just tell you what you should do and not. So so before the start of the small group, I met up with the assistant leader of the small group. She made me really very comfortable. She was going through the verses with me. She was explaining to me, and she was telling me, you know, you don't have to be afraid. If you felt that there are words coming out from your mouth, you just speak. You know, you do not have to force it. You do not have to pretend that the words are there. You know, it's fine. Just be yourself. And so she just with another sister, I remember it was her and another sister. They just laid hands on my head and they just prayed for me, and they said, Holy Spirit, fill Janice right now. And that moment I just felt like, and they were praying in tongues, and that moment I felt there was this warmth that just came, and I just started speaking. Like it wasn't a long sentence, but it was like little bits and pieces. I was making weird utterance, and yeah, if I could use it that way, weird utterance. And I just spoke. I really had no idea what those words meant, but I don't feel afraid. I don't feel afraid. I felt a sense of peace. I was there was no confusion, and yeah, and there was no fear. Totally no doubt, no fear, nothing. And I was like, and she was like, yeah, that's it. You know, you are filled. And I'm like, oh, that's it. and I was yeah, at that point I was still thinking, how is like, you know, is it just these few words and what does it mean? And so later on, my leader told me that, you know, you do not have to think too much about it. You know, as you speak, every time you pray in the Spirit, yeah, the words will just come naturally. Yeah, and yeah, that was how my experience was like.
Good advice. Let the words come naturally supernatural, as John Wimber used to say. By the way, Daniel Joseph, who we had on Wind and Fire recently, is Janice's husband, and we'll be hearing more from Janice in the not too distant future. I'm Gene Packwood for Wind and Fire and for Anglican Renewal Ministries Canada. Thanks for watching.